Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kerry Owen, and I'm certainly happy to be here tonight to judge Plano Camera's membership's work. I've always been happy to judge Plano because I think Plano Club shows a good deal more strength in their knowledge of how to present prints, and with that, we'll get on with it. Beginner level. First up is titled Curves and scores a 7. I fear that the maker here got a little too carried away with the darks and the lights to the degree that we lost detail in the dark shadows to a greater degree than I would like to see, and the same on the other end of the scale in the whites. We lost detail there. We've blown out the whites pretty well. The two items that are the subject of the photograph, I think, are a little too close to the margins, and they don't have room enough to display themselves well. Next up is entitled Hook 'em, and that's Debbie Conrad. That's a score of 8. I like the idea. However, the lone horn on the longhorn is pretty well isolated from the longhorn himself and really looks pretty lonely. It's sitting there poking itself through the fence. Let's give this one an 8. Next is entitled Rusty 1946 Chevrolet Truck Fender. It scores a 9. We have Rusty in the title, but if you'll note, the fender itself has been lightened to a degree. It's been worked to the degree that the rust is not all that particularly evident, nor does it become an immediate factor in the appreciation of the composition. The background, which does need to be lightened a little bit to see it a little better, I think probably takes more of the visitor's time to see it than with the fender. The placement is good with the headlight in the lower third on the left-hand side. All the wrong parts scores a 10. I think we're a little crowded in the space that we have in this photograph. We've got one of the characters at the lower left that is partially out of the frame. The front of the truck on the right-hand side is also in a similar condition. And we got a little focus, not focus problem, but depth of field problem, in that we're starting in with the closest figure to the camera is in focus, but the ones, particularly the figure that's being held up, the forklift, the blue work clothes there on the left-hand side, is a little fuzzy. Next title is Trees Have Parts Too, and that's a 13, and it is second place. I like the sharpness of the subject itself. You can really go over and see in great detail what's going on with the limbs, the bark, the peeling bark, the limbs that have already peeled their bark. All of that is interesting and flows quite nicely all the way around the picture. The maker of that is James Walsh. I forgot to put that in, sorry. First place goes to the title Filament, Robin DeRowan, 14 points. Nice black and white, well-conceived construction, good composition. I like the circle of lights also in circles. That adds to the interest, and all of the metal parts here are very crisp, very much in focus, and does show a very nice pattern. Good work. Going into intermediate class, first up is Rusty Nut and Bolt, and it scores a 9. My chief criticism is the oversaturation, if you want to call it that, of the picture. The rust is redder than I suspect that the original is, and it kind of divides the thing up and make it look a little unrealistic by comparison with what I think you would like to have intended. That scores a 9. Next in this class is Parts of Color, scores 10 points. I like the composition. I like where you have everything staged on the circuit board. It looks good. I wish we could wring a little more contrast out of it, and I'm afraid we have so many dark things on the board and then a dark background off to the right that kind of dulls our interest in the thing. This is a 10. Next title is Train Parts. Pretty well done. I enjoy the composition. I think you got it all in there. We might like to see a little more detail in the shadow, but it's not just terribly important. It didn't cost us any points, I don't think, in this. Just a nice shot coming and going, and I believe this is an 11. Part ship, part sea, part sky. 11 points, and this is honorable mention. I was really intrigued when I first saw it. I thought, well, gee, there's not just a whole lot of parts here, and obviously the photographer did not intend there to be a whole lot of parts, and it's a little different take, and therefore I think comes up a little higher in the milk and the cream. Horizon line nice and straight. The bow of the boat, the diagonal caused by the keel of the boat, cutting all of that through, is very nicely done. I like the composition, the smoothness of the boat, the roughness of the sea, all does very well. Advance token to play and enjoy the game. That is third place, Wayne Kentner, and scores a 12. Nicely done. The one thing I did to it was turn it into away from a portrait. What am I trying to say? And it looks better to me with the long sides left and right. But a lot of color, a lot of things to look at. Very pleasant. Reminds everyone of their childhood. Really well done. Three Generations scores a 12 and is second place. This is by James Haynes. James, I really wanted this to go all the way. It's quite a nice arrangement. We're looking at a guy who's a machinist all of his life, and he's got the old tools to prove it. You know, the machinery guidebook that they all use and covet the old one like this one. The only thing I would have appreciated was putting a little more light. I think we're a little too dark nearly all the way around, with the exception of the whites on the scales, perhaps. But I know we're trying to set a mood, and I think we could still show a little more detail and still set that mood. Nice job. This is Where Does It Go by Don Champlin. It scores 14 points and is first place in the intermediate class. I'm not a real fan of metallic printing paper, but this just fits that to a T. It really, you're not so overcome by the metallics in this particular instance, and you can spend more time enjoying the composition, the three buildings being built, the four towers, and all the materials having gathered on the ground. I'd like to have seen that pipe in the top right stay within the boundaries, but it's not a killer. Love the detail in the plastic bag down here in the bottom right. Just all around wonderfully done. Okay, going into advanced class. First up, Stamen, 9 points. Yes, there are stamen in the picture. There's also flower of something there. And then there are 3 or 4 pieces of a puzzle. And I can't figure out why they're there. What role do they play in the picture or in the title, either one? So, hard pressed. Sorry, didn't understand. Next is Lego Man, 10 points. Literally looks like we just poured the box out, part of the box, and took a picture. It's not a bad picture, but it doesn't elicit any particular positive results as it is. It just doesn't do anything for me. I'm sorry. Gear parts. That's 10 points. We're back on the metallic paper again, and I think maybe we overstayed our welcome with the metallic papers. I think you just really need to study if you need or want a metallic paper in what you're doing, what your subject is, and you need to address how much exposure you're going to give it, how much pop do you want out of the metallic paper. I tend to want, if I'm going to use it, I don't want it to call itself to my attention. Drivetrain, 11 points, honorable mention. I really like the composition on this. I like the fact that it's not overdone. I like the fact that it's not on metallic paper. It is on a semi-gloss, looks like. Comes out looking real sharp and a very stable, very well organized piece of work there. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't. 11 points and honorable mention. Good thinking, playing with the parts, come together real well. Everything is sharply in focus. You darkened the corners there up at the top because there's nothing over there, and that was a good thing to do. The foot on the bottom, the foot and leg on the bottom as well, all make it come together. Nice job. Locomotive parts scores a 12. Yeah, and this is on that paper again, but this one carries it off. It doesn't really overpower the fact that it's so shiny. Doesn't overpower the picture. It adds to the picture, and I think if you'll come up afterwards and look at the two, you'll notice the difference. I like the composition quite well on this as well. It has weight to it. It has balance to it. Good job. Tie Down by Linfin Huang. This is second place and 13 points. Really nicely done. The fact that you left the roll of wire in the picture kept this from being, he took a picture of a wire sculpture. No, he took a picture of the artist's workshop, his workbench. He's got his work in front of him. He's got his supply right there. There's a shadow of the work against the wall. All of it comes together. I like the fact that you darkened the edges on the sides and the top a little bit. Put together very nicely. Electrical Engineering 101, 13 points, first place, Bud Barlow. Several things drew me about this. The window we're looking through is the same shape as the plug on the wall, which was really, that really set it up for me. All of the electrical apparatus, the tape, the driver, the wire caps, all put that together, and you look through that window, and then you notice that there's a screw down here on the bottom, which makes this the wall plate. And you helped your cause, I think, in this instance by putting the colored border around it that helped separate the two whites, the two shades of white that are the matte and the picture. Just well done. Boys Sorting, 8 points. You know, for some reason or another, this thing seems to come out kind of like a tourist picture where you got off the tour boat and the natives were cleaning fish or cleaning whatever, although that appears to be red meat, and sneaking a look at you, but haven't asked for money yet. I am a little put off by the subject matter, but nevertheless, let's give it 8 points. Next is Nautilus Shell, 9 points. I'm not starting well in this master's class, and it ain't over yet. It looks to me like that either the addition of the Nautilus shell over the picture of the staircase, either the Nautilus shell should not be there or the staircase should not be there. Putting them both together just kind of confuses me and puts it out of contention for the better looking shots. Pierced parts, I guess it is 10 points. I sure wish that we could have had this guy on a background that was not so distracting, and I kind of wish that we had gone in closer instead of a portrait, which makes the pierced part a little hard to see, that we could have gone in close and gotten something a little more to the point. Blue Diamond, 10 points. And I apologize to the maker of this picture. I don't know what it is. And I guess I let that bother me. I love the clean lines. I love the geometry of it. The black border around it does it well. I just couldn't make out what the heck it was. Got it. 10 points. Beautiful headshot, just as crisp as it can be. You can count the feathers if you want to. It's a little poorly framed, I think, but the bird might have had something to do with that. It sure does with my bird shots. One, I think, has to disallow a little bit on the picture because of the brightness of the sun coming off the water. Is a distracting kind of thing, and I can't find the parts issue in it either. Kodak, 11 points. The photo is quite nice. I'm not sure I understand what the gray corner is doing up in the right-hand top. It's kind of distracting, but not much. What I would have preferred was a greater depth of field, so that the bellows part of the old camera could also have been in focus and I could enjoy the whole thing instead of just the lens itself. Solar Pathways, 11 points. Now that's several parts, isn't it? And in a very pleasing pattern. I would like to have seen all of the fixture rather than have some of it cut off, and it would have scored higher, I believe, had we had that condition. But seeing that way was quite well done. UV 227 detector, 12 points. This picture almost sets a mood from an object rather than from a person. In the low light, you don't have to see all of the detail here. You concentrate on the bulb that has the bright light in it, or the brightest that's in this picture anyway, and it just sets a tone quite nicely. All of the pieces of this composition run on a diagonal, and they are all parallel to each other, which is a very nice touch. And on top of that, nicely framed. This is titled Book Parts. It's 13 points. It's honorable mention. Mr. Artiles, sir, my apologies for the state of your mounting. And I would comment that if linen tape with water-based glue on it had been used, it would have come back to you in the condition that you sent it out. Having said that, I don't wish to depreciate the photograph itself. It's very well done. The composition is purely owned by the photographer, I suspect, and it's just perfectly done with the lettering down at the bottom, making a base on which to build, going across a notebook and some paste and a brush, and a typewriter and a stack of paper and so forth, and then the piece de resistance, a lit cigarette in an ashtray, and a bottle of scotch with some poured into a glass. So you did good. This was entitled It's Ready. It's 13 points, honorable mention. S. Hasty is the photographer. I'm charmed by this piece. It is nicely in focus from front to back. It is full of interesting things to look at. The pattern it makes is a joy. I would have liked for the steam and the trickle of water to have been over a little bit into the to the one-third area, but it's still an awfully nice picture. Well done. Best Foot Forward is the title. 14 points, third place. Isn't this just a delight to see? This is a great composition. You couldn't have done it any other way for it to have the effect that it does. All of the wrinkles, all of the patterns in this beast's leg and foot are just a delight. Very well done. And that is by Hasty, S. And I apologize because that is 14 points and done by Mr. Carrick. Now, I'll get things right eventually. Second place, 14 points, Hog Heaven by L. Lehman. Just choice. Solidly in focus from front to back. It is a composition that one does not see in casual glance that this photographer did see and did get. The red color stands in somewhat of a mute situation. It's not really overbearing at all, as sometimes vivid colors are. It takes a back seat to the chrome and to the speedometer there on the bicycle. Nicely mounted. I'm not sure about the uneven white, the edge on the uneven white, whether that adds to or subtracts from, but it didn't subtract much if it subtracted any. Good job. And last up, number 1, The Gaze, 15 points, Dennis Fritchie. I suspect this is not anything new for Mr. Fritchie, but the photograph he gives us is certainly new to me. It does a lot of things that you don't see very often, and he brings it to a real nice ending. It took me a while to figure out that this thing is supposed to be in the vertical position, that I'm looking at a blue pelican. I'm looking at it in the breeding season because that's when they have yellow feathering on the top of the head, and that's when their pouch turns to a darker color. So then you see more of the geometry of the bird that you would not notice otherwise. All of the detail that comes with a close-up like this. It's an extraordinary shape. It's an extraordinary pose of an extraordinary animal. And given all that, about the only thing I can fault is to accuse him very mildly of oversaturating the yellow in the bird, and perhaps doing the same with the black on the pouch of the bird, in that most of what I have seen has not been that saturated. But a wonderful job on a subject that near and dear to my heart, and congratulations, sir.